Okay. Well, everyone, Norm Winsky's with us, and I've talked to Norm over the years many, many times, and he's a great teacher and very good at Astro and GAN and teaches people it, was a former member of the SIBO. So welcome back, Norm. I know you like to select your dates around things that might be happening astronomically. I believe we have a supermoon. When is it? Monday or something? Sunday, Monday?
Well, I'll be talking about that. We don't want to give away the story yet.
All right. Well, go ahead. So,
Yeah, we're
I'm
all
just reading
keep
your
them
mind.
keep them
That's,
on the.
certain markets that are going in one direction into these events, you look for some reversals within 24 hours. So, go ahead. Take it away, buddy.
All right, I only get to come on your show about every 2 months. We don't have time to review the last 2 months, so I'm just going to go back a few weeks and cover what's happened here in the last few weeks and show you some charts. So, like Dale says, I'm big on one thing consistently on coming on the show here is I almost always talk about the new moons or the full moons or anything related along those lines. Just sometimes we get a solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, so forth. We had that in January, and so I'm going to go over what happened here the last few weeks. So one of the things we watch, I do a lot of stuff related to the stock market. And so one of the things we have every year at this time of the year is the January barometer. Okay, what's a January barometer? January barometer, first of all, comes under most people don't know this, but it's sort of Wall Street lore. The January barometer, as January goes, so goes the year. That actually comes under the umbrella of a fractal type model, in that you take a small piece of something and studying that, you can extrapolate out what the bigger picture might look like. And so the January barometer, you look at January, and if January is up, there's a high probability that's about 75% has worked since 1950. This is not my statistics. Somebody else that did a statistical study on this, and it works about 75% of the time that if January is up, the stock market will close up for the year. January's down, the stock market will close down for the year. So how did it come out this year? Well, we had a strong up month for January, indicating that we should have an up year for the stock market. Okay, doesn't work every time, but it works a high percentage of the time. Next, let's talk about another. For February is my forecasting for Fun Fest month, where I pull out all the some of my favorite forecasting models. So that's why I'm going over these now. Another fun forecasting model is the Super Bowl model, based on the U.S. Super Bowl, and the NFL, National Football League, is divided into two conferences, NFC and AFC, in the pattern, which has worked over 80% since they began the Super Bowl, back up I think about 1967, is that if the NFC team wins the Super Bowl, that's bullish, the market will close up. And if the AFC team wins, that's bearish, and the market will close down. So what happened there was, and now here's been my theory, is that the January barometer, because January ends on the 31st of January, and the Super Bowl isn't played till the next week, that the January barometer most of the time should be able to predict who's going to win the Super Bowl, because they're predicting the same thing. Unfortunately, this year is the first year I've seen in a while where they are in conflict, because the New England Patriots, the AFC team, won, and that's now the Super Bowl is bearish, and the January barometer is bullish. So now we have a sort of a battle here between two these two indicators. So we'll have to wait and see how they come out. Now on the back on the 4th of February, just after the stock market closed, we had a new moon, and at apogee. What is apogee? As the moon goes around the Earth, it's not a perfect circle; it's elliptical, and there's a point at which the moon is close, and the point at which the moon is near, and that only lines up with the full moon and new moon about every 14 months. That evening, there was a new moon at apogee, so that's kind of a special moon. The technical term is syzygy. If you're a Scrabble player, you'll love this word, because that could probably win the game for you, with all the Z's and the Y's in it. And the pop culture name is the Supermoon cycle. So because it was in the sign of Aquarius, the astrological indications were that we should look at copper. And then we also have our usual suspects of our grains, our precious metals, and our financials. So now we're going to look at some charts and see how they came out. The moon works a high percentage of the time, but not all the time. And the way to increase your batting average and increase the money you make on these trades is to wait for the market to get to some sort of extreme. If the market gets to some sort of extreme, within, like Dale said, within 1 day of the event, then you have a good chance to make some money. Okay, here's your copper chart. I put a red arrow there because it did not fit my rules. We're off a day. If the high had been over here, not over here, or actually 2 days away, and I only allow 1 day, so I'm going to have to call that a miss with my red arrow there. Here's silver. I had a tiny bump, so this is a very marginal trade, but still I had still marking it as a positive. Had a little bump there right on my day, the 5th. With the new moon was the night of the 4th, so we count the 5th. And there was a little bump there on the 5th, so we give that a green arrow. That was a possible positive. Had you sold there, you would have made some money on the short side. Here's your gold, and you can see there's a red arrow. That wasn't as good as the silver. Going to have to mark that as a miss. So the metals were a little iffy. The grains were a little friendlier. Here's your corn there. Had a little rally right into the new moon, and if you sold there, you would have made some money. Here's your beans. Same thing with the beans. The next day they topped, rolled over and went down, and then you had a chance to make some money. The wheat was probably maybe the best of the three. You had a nice rally there, and the next day it topped and then had a sharp pullback right after the new moon. That's more what we usually see when with the new moon or full moon for a turn. Where you actually have a chance to make some real money.
It's a nice one.
Better than just the single burger at Wendy's. You get the value burger, you get the double burger. And after you make a trade like that. All right, here's the S&P. S&P worked out well. We topped on the 5th, and then we had about a 2% drop over the next several days. You see that? It doesn't look that way, but that's if you, because of the scaling here, but it actually dropped about 2%, about 55 handles. That's good for about, almost $2,700, something in that neighborhood, one S&P E-mini. Here's the bonds worked well. They usually do the opposite of what the stock market's doing. So the bonds made a low there right on, I think, on the 5th. And here's your U.S. dollar, did not cooperate, so that was a miss. And, of course, if the dollar misses, probably the euro is going to go along with the dollar. Now, one of my things that I do maybe a few of your people out there have heard of the Bradley model. I have my own version of the Bradley model, which adds up the planetary cycles and then plots them on a graph, and so we can forecast the stock market weeks in advance, and that's what I do here. So the blue line, I drew that weeks in advance and put that in the January letter, and then after the fact, I overlay these black bars, those are S&P 500 10-minute bar charts, and you can see I think that was a pretty good correlation there. What do you think, Dale?
Yeah, very tight. Very tight one.
And, we're not supposed to be able to do that sort of thing. If you listen to the people on Wall Street, it's like nobody could ever do that, right? Notice I've marked the moons on here. There's your solar eclipse. It was off about a day for that low. The lunar eclipse worked really well. Look at that. That was from that top to that bottom over here, that was a drop of 2.1%. And that was topped on that Friday the 18th. And we bottomed the following Wednesday. We had a Monday holiday. And there's your lunar eclipse right there. So see, I showed you a few misses, but don't discard the moon because the moon is powerful stuff. All right, now we're going to move on to another kind of forecasting model, fractals. What is a fractal? A good example of a fractal in nature is a pine tree. The branches of a pine tree look like miniature pine trees. We can study the smaller parts of something to figure out what the bigger picture might look like, and that's a fractal. It's it's a repeating pattern at different levels of order. Some of your folks might be familiar with Elliott wave. Elliott is a fractal system. Okay, so we take the price pattern for the early part of the year and extrapolate that out for the entire year, and then I overlay the results, and we'll see how it works out. Here's the user's manual for this. It's all of 3 sentences. That's how simple this is, okay? And so there we go. So look at the blue bars. I published the blue bars back in February last year, and then at the end of the year, I overlaid these black bars on top, and that's, I think, I don't know what you think, Dale. I think that's pretty amazing. You see that?
Yeah, really tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and you get this for the whole year, right? So, I just did the 2019. So if you folks like this, get a hold of me right away, and you'll have this for 2019. And I got stuff that you're really going to like here in just a moment. I got currencies coming up, so don't go anywhere. All right, here's copper. Copper has been a perennial winner every year. This has been one of my top ones to do this. Here's copper. Okay. And here's your gold. I figure, well, the currency traders like the gold, so I'll throw in a metal there, see how that goes. And wait till okay, fasten your seatbelts, folks, because I'm going to show you the currencies now. Some of these are unbelievable. Okay, so now some of these models, when I didn't go really read this, I probably should have read the user's manual here, which says that we published this back on the 12th of February 2018. I already told you, black bar is the actual prices, blue bars are the forecast, and here's the important part. These models can and do invert. Many of your commodities will be inverted. Cattle did not invert, but there's a tendency for some of the commodities to invert, and also for the currencies. So now we're going to go look at currencies. Here's your Aussie dollar. Look at that. That's pretty darn good, don't you think, Dale?
Yeah, nice fractal.
Okay. Here's your euro. Keep in mind, if you like to catch the big moves, this is a model you'll want to have, because, if this thing said it was going to be a big top here, April, May, and then boom, down, and that's kind of what happened. So you can catch a really big move if you get your other indicators lining up, your shorter term cycles lining up to give you the exact day or whatever. And you can jump on one of these big trades and hit a home run, Here's the yen. Every year the yen has been excellent. The last 4 or 5 years, I would say. It's usually the inverted model, and there's your yen. Let's do that. All right, that's do we take questions from the folks there?
We can.
If we have time, I'm open for that.
Okay. Any questions for Norm? Any questions for Norm? Forex Gal is a fan of yours.
Okay.
I don't know what Calispera is.
Tell Forex Gal to give me a call or email me.
Calispera. Okay. Any other questions for Norm? Interested in his free? You want to talk about your free course?
I'll be getting to that in just a moment. Now we're going to talk about what's coming up. Okay. All right, I guess we'll talk about what's coming up just around the corner here after the holiday. We have Tuesday. I think it's about 10:54 Eastern time. We have a full moon at perigee. That's the opposite of what we had on February the 4th. Now we're going to have a full moon with the moon closest. That's the point. If you go out there, you won't be able to do it during the day, but if you're on the other side of the earth, or if you go out that night, you'll see a full moon, and it'll look extra big because the moon is closer. And you also you get the big tidal effect, the big strong gravitational pull from the moon often when it's at the full moon perigee. This only occurs about every 14 months. Okay, so what's that? How are we doing on time, Dale?
We're okay.
All right. Back when I was on the floor there, I had a friend who was this guy seldom went. He is very focused on making money and trading, and that's pretty much his life. And I was surprised when he told me at the holidays he was going to go on a vacation. And he said, I don't know, some travel agent got a hold of him and convinced him that he should go to Rio. And he told you, I said he was going to be in Rio for Christmas holiday. I said, do you know that there's going to be a full moon at perigee about that time? That's that could cause some flooding and stuff. that could cause a problem if you're trying to go to the beach. Oh, it'll be okay. And so then in the middle of the trading day, right around that time, I get paged off the floor. It's my friend, and I said, "What are you doing calling me?" He said, "Oh, I'm in my hotel room on board. We can't go on the beach. It's all flooded here." He went all the way to
Uh,
Rio, and he's stuck in his hotel room. That's pretty funny, huh?
yeah.
Alrighty. So anyway, that's what we got. We got a full moon at perigee on Tuesday. We're going to be looking at that'll be in. Let's see, the full moon will be in Virgo, so there's going to be emphasis on grains. By the way, the grains took a little bit of a dump yesterday, and if they continue lower into the full moon, that could be a setup for a good low in the grains. So keep your eye on those. I always tell my students, if you don't want to use your brains, trade the grains, because they dance to the moon very nicely. In fact, I think of
Yeah.
all the ones I showed earlier, on the moon there, I think the greens behave the best. All right, we got our usual suspects. Round them up. We got corn. There's your currencies: forex, gold, oil, OJ, silver. Emphasis on soybeans because it's in Virgo, stocks, T bonds, and U.S. dollar. There's your shopping list. If you see any of these at a big extreme by about Tuesday or Wednesday, look for a reversal. Okay. Now,
Okay.
Wednesday morning, we have Mercury. We also look at Mercury cycles, and when Mercury gets a zero latitude, as the planets go around the sun, like horses on a carousel, they also oscillate up and down. When they get to their midpoint, that apparently is a powerful energy point, and that often brings a change in trend to the markets. And Mercury has a special correlation with the grains. So we want to. There you go. There's more emphasis. Now we got two cycles that are both powerful for the greens coming together within one day. So this is like a super window here for the greens in particular, and also the stock market. So those are the things you want to be keeping an eye on. Okay, so now we're going to move ahead and tell the folks how they can get fantastic free stuff. If you contact me, there's a possibility you can get my class for free. It's 6 hours. I can teach you how to swing trade. I cover about 30 markets. I can teach you how to day trade. I have people making very nice money on day trading S&P, and I had one guy who signed up with me about a month or so ago. He said he'd been losing money for 2 years, and according to him, he'd lost enough money over the last 2 years to buy a house. Now I got him turned around and making money, so he's pretty happy.
Nice. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there we
Pick
go.
one thing and become an expert at it.
I guess so, yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, all you gotta do is contact me, and you'll learn. I got several things in my letter that you'll learn about. You'll learn about Astro. Mr. Gann. One of the things that's that somewhat people, somewhat who don't know better, argue about Gann. But Gann was an astrologer. That's the main big secret of Gann's success. That he was first and foremost astrological. I talked to one of Gann, somebody who worked with Gann for 10 years back in the early '80s, and he said first and foremost, Mr. Gann was astrological. So I do astro. And by the way, on the day trading, it's unbelievable. The planets will often forecast a turn in the markets within 1 to 2 minutes. So if you don't want to wait around for a trade, this is, and it works a high percentage of time. So I can prove this to you if you get a hold of me, and we can learn how to day trade. You'll see that that's a fact. I also teach advanced Fibonacci, which includes Lucas numbers. If you don't know what Lucas is, you should get a hold of me. You can learn about that. We also teach fractals, what you just saw there. Fractals are very easy. If you didn't get what I just showed you back here, I can teach you that probably in 5 minutes. I always say that I can teach a 10-year-old to do the fractals in about 10 minutes, So there we go. So get a hold of me. There's my phone. There's my Skype. There's my email. And I'm in
Take a screenshot.
I'm in sunny Florida there. Get a screenshot of my contact info there. And my phone, 239-594-3939. There's my email, nwinsky at embarkmail.com. Skype, norm.winsky. If you email me, tell me that Dale sent you. You're from Dale's class, Dale's show here. And then you get the special goodies. All right. Well, thanks a lot for having me on your show, Dale. Does anybody have any parting comments or questions or whatever?
Yeah, someone was asking for 1 year forecast on the U.S. dollar. Norm is more swing oriented, kind of a month at a time. Am I correct, Norm? That
Well, that's
you're
my main
just
thing, but I also have the fractals, which maps out the
okay.
entire year in February,
Okay, Forex gal,
which
get a
I just
hold
put
of
together.
Norm.
I just
Get a
put
hold of
together.
Norm for that
Okay.
fractal.
Yeah, I
And
just
Norm, have a great weekend. You're welcome, Marius. Hope everyone had a great week. Contact Norm. It's becoming a lost art. Some of the things that Norm does, a lot of the masters are in another dimension. And Norm's been doing this for 4 decades. So, pick his brain while, he's still available to do so before he decides, I've had enough with the public. So, Norm, thank you again for edifying our community. Good hunting next week. I'll be thinking of you when I see the supermoon next week and potential reversals that you mentioned. I appreciate you sharing that with us today.
my pleasure, Dale. Thanks very much for having me on your show. I look forward to helping some of your folks.
Okay, buddy. So that's a wrap, everyone, for the week. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Getting a reversal in the Dixie from what I talked about earlier in the broadcast. And we'll see everyone Monday. Adios. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks again, Norm.
Thank you.
See you, buddy.